Let's talk about heuristics. So I'm suggesting that one way of approaching planning, and let me tell you, there are a zillion ways of approaching planning. One way that's very straightforward, given what we know already in the course, is to think of planning as forward state space progression. So we're searching through state space. The route, we're gonna do a graph search using something like A star. The root node represents the initial state. The successor nodes correspond to the successor states. We apply the actions, yada, yada, yada. There are lots of other ways of doing planning, and we'll talk about a couple of them once we got this one under our belt. But this is only one. Now, if we take this view of planning as, oh, okay, there's just a huge, and it is a graph, there might be multiple sequences of actions that will take you to the same state. Might be two ways of getting to the same place. So you might want to implement a closed list and do duplicate detection. If we're going to do graph search, then immediately, and I even said the word A star, I even said that the guy who developed A star was in the strips team. You might be thinking, okay, what's the heuristic going to be? So what's a heuristic? What's a good heuristic for strips planning? You already looked at your sheet of paper. Oh, well. Anyone have any ideas?
What was the goal defined again? Is it a list? Okay. So maybe how many of those you have?
Oh, number of goal literals that aren't true yet. Number of unsatisfied goal literals. That's totally a heuristic. I even used a planner once where that was the heuristic. Oh my God. Whew. Those were the days. Why is that an inadmissible heuristic? This is brilliant. You guys are teaching the class for me. I love it.
If you can reach two goals at once.
Yeah, there might be a single action that just does it all. If you want to be dead and bleeding, then slice the hatchet, does it all, one action. Where? Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about assignment 2. So yes, you can totally get multiple goal literals with a single action sometimes. So that is a heuristic, but it is absolutely inadmissible. Do I have any others on that first? Number of unachieved goals. Yeah, right there. H equals 0, I want to point out, totally legit heuristic, very lame. So I ask that you implement both of these. So you ought to be able to do that pretty straightforwardly.
Going back to the grocery world, can you have bananas twice?
If it's true, you can make it true again. You can keep buying bananas, and it will continue to be true.
Okay. Would that be something we would want to do duplicate detection on, like you said, so you don't keep it?
A star is going to increase cost every time.
It's going to have higher cost, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Those suboptimal plans. We don't even think about it. Like, someone asks to go to the store to go, do you even consider the plan where you go to the store, buy bananas, go out the door, go in the store, buy the bananas, go in the store, buy them? Like, computers have to deal with that, but people don't even think about it.
Well, if I'm not thinking, I might actually do that.
Exactly. You have a good heuristic function, and we need to give that to the computer. So we need a better heuristic function than this lousy thing. Well, not lousy. I've been fine, perfectly respectable suggestion, but it is inadmissible. So we have to do better. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about a heuristic. And it's called H1, and it's not all that great, but it's okay. So if people, you have to implement it, I think, on the assignment, and when you tell people you implemented H1, they'll say, oh, good. Like, people will respect you for that. It won't be like, wow, you're like amazing, but it will be like, good for you. That's good, solid. Before we get there, brief break. That's not the latest version of the slides. I had assignment 2 on there. Assignment 2 went back. Is there anything we need to say about it? The grades, there's some grades. Let's see if I can find the grades.
Attach a trace of everybody's programming on the test examples.
Oh, I can't put the grades on the screen because I started Camtasia. Oh, I can pause it. There we go. Questions about that?
Which was the reference solution that works on the zombie? Is that the one that's on
Do I have a copy of the latest reference? I don't think I posted the new one. Do I have it?
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check.
Okay.
But if you want the proof, I can send you.
Okay, yeah, that's all I really.
Yeah. I think with yours, it just was timing out, and I let it run for several minutes.
Project proposals. Don't forget about project proposals. I'd love to talk to people tomorrow during my office hours at 10:30 about their projects. So you can go and cogitate during spring break and then come back with an awesome proposal. But if you're not free tomorrow at 10:30, that's fine. Catch me some other time, or like right when you get back from spring break or something. But we should get those done. One thing I want to point out about the project proposal, I gave you a sheet like the very first day of class about projects proposals, and I think it says something in there about how you should list the things you're absolutely definitely going to do for your project, and then the things that you would love to do and that will make your project so much more wonderful that you will do if you have time. Separate those very distinctly and make sure we agree on what is in what category, because it's like 85% of projects are too ambitious. And I want you to, if you do everything that you say that you are going to do, you will get an A. If you do an awesome job on it. So even if you do nothing in the optional category. So let's make very sure we got everything in the right category. Any other questions about project proposals? Okay. So we got a few minutes to talk about heuristics, which is great. It's going to require drawing something on the board, though. So we're trying to figure out how far away the goal is. That's the job of a heuristic, right? We're at this initial state, and the question is, in a unit cost world, how many actions for us to get to the goal? We want these things to be true. How do we make them true? Now, if the domain is nice, that's a very easy question. Like, if the domain is such that each action makes one thing true and doesn't make anything false, then it's like, okay, we need to be at home. How do we? Well, we're already at home, so that'll take 0 actions to do. We need a drill. The thing that lets us have a drill is buy, so we'll need to do a buy action. We'll need to do a buy action. We'll need to do a buy action. Great. So in some domains, it's like very straightforward. You just go and see the action required for each of these, and you're done. There's a slight complication, though, which is, for example, we can't do the buy action until we're at the store, and we're not currently at the store. So you could think, okay, well, we'll do each of these and take a look at their preconditions. Well, we have to be at the store. That's not a problem, so we'll go to the store. So that's an additional action. We have to be at the correct store. Now, there's a different store for the milk and bananas and for the drill. And so what we're doing is kind of almost chaining backwards, thinking backwards from these goal literals to the actions that they require and to the actions that they require. And it gets a little bit hairy. So usually when people are computing a heuristic, they actually do it forward. And what you do is you look at every possible thing you can do in the initial state and do it. Imagine doing it. So let's just draw here. Well, it's a little bit complicated of an example, I guess. So we're at home, and I imagine all the different things that I can do. Well, one of them would be going to the store, go to the hardware store. One of them would be going to the supermarket. These are all things that I can do. And that makes true that I'm at the hardware store. And this makes true that I'm at the supermarket. And then I look at all the things I can do. Well, if I'm at the hardware store, that will let me buy the drill. And this will let me buy the milk and buy the bananas. So this structure is actually called a planning graph. And it's got two kinds of nodes in it. It's got literals and it's got actions. Maybe I should draw the actions with little boxes around them. People often tend to put boxes around actions. By actions, and this will make true have drill, and this will make true have bananas, and this will make true have milk. And that's good. So we have fact layer, action layer, fact layer, action layer, fact layer. And we just keep unrolling this graph, looking at what we can achieve until we've achieved all the goal literals. Now, there are a bunch of enormous flaws in what I just described. Maybe you guys can spot some of them. Frank?
I guess in this world, you've got the nice go action and that action, but you might not necessarily be able to get
Going and buying is what I have here.
right. Decided as the actions, and then at in between.
Yeah.
But you can't necessarily get from everywhere to everywhere else in a single action in the real world.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we're facing that here in that I really want to have a drill, but I can't be in the initial state where I'm at home and in one step buy the drill. I have to go to the hardware store first. This is the nuisance action.
Right, but you might have to go to the supermarket and then from the supermarket walk up the stairs in the supermarket or something.
Well, that may be in my world model, or it may not be. That's true. So that's a meta question. Like, have I modeled the world sufficiently enough that my plan is going to make sense? I like to say that's outside the domain of the class, but it's an important issue. Lee?
I think we plan backwards. I don't know if this answers your question or if it's related, but I think we think of where can I buy milk.
We'll talk about, that's called regression planning. We will talk about that, but not today. Dan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, this is, well, I mean, the plan is not complete because we could also go bananas or go D or go any level.
Yep. The plan, this is not complete in a bunch of ways. So, for example, I didn't actually even say how we compute a heuristic value off of this thing. One way that people compute a heuristic value off of this thing is that they look at the level at which the goals are achieved. So this is T0, and this is T1, and this is T2. Right? This is the second time step. You can have a drill in 2 time steps. I also didn't write down all kinds of other things like cells, hardware store drill. That's a precondition of buying the drill. So you can think of that as having a link here. And cells, supermarket, bananas. You can think of that as having a link there. Now, yeah, am I allowed to draw a link across time here? Technically, no. In a planning graph, there's actually little called no-op actions or persistence actions that let something persist over time. That just say, take it from, oh, whoops, that's a fact layer. Oops. There's a persistence action here, and there's a persistence action here. I apologize. I already made a mistake in my planning graph. Ugh. Planning graphs are an enormous pain in the neck to draw, so you're going to be very happy to have the computer do it for you. You'll be really unhappy on the exam when I ask you to draw one, but I apologize. Don't see any way around it. Promise I'll give you a very small domain. So there are preconditions that I hadn't drawn in at first, and there are additional complications. So one thing you can do is you can say, okay, the heuristic value is going to be 2. Because for every goal literal, I can achieve it in 2 steps. But that's obviously false, right? Because I'm going to have to do these things serially. I can't buy the drill and buy the bananas at the same time. So what I really ought to do is chain backwards a little bit, like Lee was starting to suggest, and think, okay, what are all the actions that are necessary for all of the goal literals? So I'll need to buy, and that's going to require a go, and I need to do this buy, and that requires this go, and I need to do this buy, and that requires that go. So I really should be thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actions. So the heuristic value should really be 5. And that's a pretty good heuristic, actually. That's actually a very good heuristic. I'm going to ask you to implement a slightly simpler one. I'm going to ask you to implement 2 heuristics. One that looks for every goal literal at what level it's achieved and adds those up across all the goal literals. That's called H1 plus. And that is inadmissible because these are both at level 2, but they don't require 4 actions. They just require 3. I'm also going to ask you to implement H1 max, where you look at all the goal literals and what level they're achieved and take the max. And that is admissible, but it's less informed. Dylan.
So you mentioned you can't buy drill and buy bananas at the same time, which makes sense. But in parallel, you can buy bananas and buy milk at the same time.
Yeah. So this planning graph is a highly approximate version of how the world works. And it approximates it in actually 2 really important ways. One is the parallelism that you just mentioned. But I am in H-add, I'm definitely counting that twice. In H-max, I'm not. There's another really important approximation.
Well, just to follow up on that, how do we prevent ourselves from going to the hardware store and going to the supermarket at the same time? Because, I mean...
Yeah, so H plus will take care of that, because you're adding in the chains, the dependency chains for all the literals. So H plus is going to say 1, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, 2. You're going to get 6 for H plus, because you have 3 things at level 2. These things might have come true at different levels. So you look at the first level that they each came true at, and either plus or max, depending on which version you're looking at. There's another big thing that's, what's the true cost to go from the initial state to the goal? No? We have to, does anyone, who knows how to solve this planning problem? Who knows how to solve this? What do we have to do to solve this problem? Plus, you have to go to the first store, buy the thing. You have to go to the second store, buy the things, and then go home. So the planning graph is missing. We're missing that you're not going from home to the store. You're going from one store to another. But that's, as far as the number of actions is concerned, that's okay. But we're missing the going home. We've completely ignored, going home is one of the things that has to be true, but it's going to be true here because of persistence actions, because it was already true in the initial state. So it's going to have one of these annoying persistence things, keeping it true the whole time. We've completely ignored the fact that actions can make things false. Going from home to somewhere else makes you no longer at home, I can tell you. Okay? And the planning graph has no idea that occurs. In the planning graph's world, more things just become possible. Nothing is removed. It's like Silicon Valley, right? We're not trashing the environment and exploiting workers, which is like everything. We're just more and more just letting you have email on the go. Just more and more things become possible. Nothing bad, nothing negative ever happens. We've ignored the delete list in the action descriptions. All right? Yeah.
If more than one thing comes true from an action, then you like branch, right?
You get them both.
Okay.
You get them both. Yeah, so at hardware store, like if going to the hardware store made you happy and at the hardware store, then we'd have happy here. I love hardware stores. So many, like it makes me want to like remodel my house single-handedly in a weekend.
Go buy hammers.
Yeah, well, I already have a couple hammers, so I'm good there. I don't like spending money. I do like going to the hardware store. Exactly. All those tools I could buy. So that's why. So we've ignored the going home because we think the at home will persist. So this H1 heuristic is extremely optimistic.